So the audio is rolling.
Okay, let's test this out again. Aha! Nah, I don't know. I don't know what to do. Is that too loud?
The video is rolling.
Okay. Keep rolling. And from there, we go in. Welcome to another episode of Mofos with a Long Podcast.
You already know.
Hey. So, I have returned from my short hiatus. That last episode was really good. Return to Busan, that's a good movie.
I appreciate you, man. I'm sure Alex will appreciate that as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's another mofo added to the crew.
Oh, yeah.
It is Mofos.
Yeah.
And was this the monumental episode 10 or the 10th episode?
This is the 10th episode, yeah.
We made it 10 deep.
Yeah, this is our 10 episode anniversary of the... No, just kidding.
Yeah. But, so for this week, for this episode, we're doing American Psycho.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so what was... because you've seen this before, right, you said?
I have, but it had been so long. And I'll tell you right now, I forgot how crazy this movie is.
Oh,
man.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought I remembered, and I was like, oh yeah, it's an okay movie or whatever, bro. Like, after like watching it again this past time, like, it's insane.
Oh yeah,
there's so much going on.
There is a lot, which to me, I guess it might kind of kill my review, but it makes it so rewatchable. Yeah, because I've seen this multiple times now, and there's always little details I catch each time. And it was the first time I saw it, I did not expect, it to be like this.
Yeah.
And be so nuts. And Christian Bale had that Nicolas Cage energy the whole time, which I appreciate because that's my guy.
And I was talking to somebody about this. Like, the character is so interesting, and like the entire movie is very like intelligent.
Oh yeah.
I think there's a lot of like social commentary built into it, and then also just kind of like a look into the mind of like someone who doesn't necessarily fit within the confines of society, but like is trying. Yeah.
It's like kind of like Dexter almost.
Yeah, kind of.
They try to fit in, but they don't really know how to. They just kind of take social cues.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do in this moment.
Exactly. And then like one thing that I noticed too is that like he's constantly looking for references of like how someone should be. So like
there's a hint. There's a big one that happens towards the end. I don't know if we want to do a recap type thing or just. I guess we could just talk about it.
However, I mean, because like I don't know. I think like when we run through the whole movie that works, but then at the same time, like if we just want to talk about it.
Yeah. At this point, let's just keep going. But like how you're saying, like he's trying to take social cues, look for references. Do you have any scenes in mind or any examples of that, or
like when because I mean, one of his MOs is like the victims. He likes to sleep with them before, he kills them. And so when he's kind of like trying to get into that mode of like, oh, I'm about to sleep with someone, then he'll go ahead and put on like some music to kind of like that kind of fills that vibe to kind of like, okay, so someone like, or he'll like, I think there's one scene where he even puts on some like porn, like that, and so he uses all of these references to kind of be like, okay, this is what someone who doesn't like suffer from this like outsider trying to look into society, this is what someone would do in that situation. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this and act on this. And then also like if he's getting ready for a kill, like there's a scene where he puts on Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, which is like a good Easter egg to our first episode. Yeah, I thought about that.
But yeah, so he's like constantly looking for like these like what does someone do, and so one of the things that's interesting too is like he's super fixated on like talking about the music and stuff like that.
Like almost like a critic.
Uh-huh.
Like every time before I kill somebody, I keep thinking like when he talks about music, like, dude, you should have just been a music critic. You know? You just been an Anthony Fantano of music back then. But yeah, you were talking like he talks about music and
and so I think it's just a very interesting look. I have not read the book that it's based on, so I'd be interested to kind of like read that and see how that varies, or maybe there's some details about the character that kind of like, because
doesn't translate over.
Yeah, because film is such an interesting thing. A lot of it is visual, and so a lot of films will try to like give you some type of like visual or audio cue as to kind of like a peek in, or sometimes it's even like a narration sequence of like, oh, they're thinking this in their head, but there's only so much that can be done on film, whereas a book, you're given like that first person perspective into like what someone's thinking. So I'd definitely be interested in reading the book.
Actually, interesting tidbit, me and my girl went to Barnes & Noble today, and I saw the book, and I just kind of scroll through just to see, and even there I noticed some slight changes. There was like a conversation they had in the book that was never had in the movie. They never and I was like so I guess in that there's definitely some differences, and which makes sense because not each medium is different. And if anybody wants to talk about the differences, you can put it in the comments, let us know some that you've noticed. But to go back to the social cues thing, there was one scene I was like, oh, at first I didn't notice it the first like 3 times I watched it. I noticed it now. It was the scene him and Willem Dafoe were at the restaurant having lunch, and Willem Dafoe grabs salt to put on his meal, and you see Patrick Bateman, he awkwardly grabs the salt and throws it awkwardly onto his food, but he seems like he didn't know what it was meant for or what to do with it. It's just like, he did it, I guess I'll do it too. But you can see the awkwardness of, I guess it's just foreign. And that goes out through the whole movie. But I guess kind of going to the beginning. So Patrick Bateman, 27-year-old yuppie.
That man does not look 27.
He looks like 35.
Yeah,
he looks. But the weird thing is, like, he's actually 27 during the filming.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess he looks older, man.
Just matured and stayed there. And you see like his routine. How he takes care of himself. How like he even admits like how he's not there, and the stuff he does to like just he's a narcissist for sure. And I guess we also see that he has like super OCD. But he takes care of his body to like the minute detail, and he does that every morning and every day, and it just kind of gives you like a before it starts getting weird, you kind of get like a take into how he views himself, and people around him. How did you feel about his introduction?
I was just jealous that man could do 1,000 crunches. He's like, I do crunches to keep my body in shape. I can do 1,000. Like, dang, I can do like 10. No,
you could do your own morning routine. What you do.
It's not gonna be a dry my face with the same towel. Dry my ass with,
Or you just wake up late, you maybe shower, just grab your shit and go to work, But
I'm like rushing to get my shit together. Oh man.
But so for another funny thing actually with this introduction, I guess the scene he's in the shower and you get to see some cheeks.
Oh yeah.
All the girls during the filming, they all came to just see him film that. Yeah, but that was peak Bale right there. Yes, I guess from there we get introduced to like his social circle, his friends and stuff like that, and those guys are a bunch of assholes, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that's like it fits perfectly because it's the perfect place for someone with his psyche to hide, because everyone in that kind of world is like so self-centered, and so like, yeah, if he's like the narcissist that he is, then that just seems like the norm for the kind of business that he's in, the kind of people that he hangs around, like to the point that they don't even remember who they went to dinners and lunches with. Like that's crazy to me. There are some, we'll go into it later, but that plays into like other bigger parts of the movie.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah,
yeah, with his friends, like exactly like you said, they're just self-centered. They're a bunch of assholes. I also feel like they're also portraying characters to fit in. There, so like you said, it fits perfectly because not everybody's really themselves within that circle.
Right.
And they even actually, funny watching this with my girl. She's like, Patrick Bateman and his girlfriend. She's like, how did they even meet? How are they dating? Because they don't really care about each other. It just seems like they're more so because it's the social circle,
right?
And which they explain later on, like, oh, you know, your friends know my friends, and maybe that's why they just because they're all the same circle,
right?
So they feel like they have to date, so they have to do something.
Yeah, and for it seems like for those people and a lot of the characters that we meet throughout the movie, the most important thing to them is keeping the facade of just like a perfect life, having, you know, what they would view to be the perfect job,
the girlfriend,
partying all the time, and then we even find out, you know, one guy don't know what exactly his sexuality is, but that he's, you know, he's had kind of a thing for Bateman the entire time. And it's kind of been closeted and tucked away, even though I think that's the guy that Patrick is having an affair with his girl, right? Or no, or was it another one?
I think it was another one.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was another one. Well, Patrick gets around. Throughout the whole movie. He gets around. And going to that character, I guess it makes sense why he would be kind of hidden and more closeted because of it's the 80s too.
True.
And that circle seems like they're the type where it'll be kind of weird. They won't accept him.
Right. Yeah, they definitely. I think a lot of bad would probably come out within that circle. Yeah. With them coming out, so that might be another thing.
With the friends too, it's like going to the way they talk. They don't even talk like real people. And going to the party, and all they really seem to do throughout the whole movie is just talk about reservations to these fancy ass restaurants and what they have at those restaurants or those places. Yeah. And it's so weird. And in one of the scenes where I guess Patrick Bateman tries to get real and talks about social issues, you could tell he's just talking out of his ass just to come off as smart. And I like how they even call him out on it in the movie. And the fucked up is like, I know people like that in real life. You know, we know people like that who just in a party they want to say all this stuff they really don't care about. Right. They just see on Twitter or on TV like, oh, I guess
I've recently met someone like that.
Oh, yeah. Like, you know.
Yeah.
They're just bullshitting.
Oh, yeah. That person got called out hard.
Oh, yeah.
Though. And, yeah, that was... that was an experience. I had never been in something like that before. Because I'm usually like, when I come across people, like, I'll just like, I'll listen to them and be like, yeah, but then like in the back of my head, I'm like, you're just saying what you think everybody wants to hear. And then like, so I'm just used to like, that's the interaction, just like, you know, just let them keep going or whatever. Yeah. And then like, two people that were also in that same place, like, called them out on it, and then like, no response, like nothing to say.
Oh, just crickets.
And I was like, dang,
oh man,
bro.
I mean, they set themselves up for that, you know.
Yeah.
And hopefully they learn a lesson from that. So we get introduced to his friends. We see where he works at. One thing I found interesting throughout the whole movie, I don't know, maybe they did explain. Do we know what this motherfucker does for a job?
Yeah, he's in acquisitions and mergers.
Okay, but is he
okay? No, so like, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah,
but
okay.
like, I guess it's like when a company buys out another company. That's my best guess. That's my best guess. But yeah, because he even says he's, and it shows how much they don't listen to each other. Either that, or the movie shows us what he's thinking.
Yeah.
As opposed to what he actually says. And so those moments are interesting because it's like, did he really say that?
Yeah.
Or is he like, but yeah, because he tells a girl at a club, I'm in executions and murders.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite
And she's
parts.
like, I find that a lot of guys that are in acquisitions and mergers, and I'm like, that's not what he said.
Yeah. And that, see, in those scenarios, but I guess going back to the job thing, I guess we never really see him work.
Yeah, well, we see that he has an office. Yeah, and I guess we never really get to
he's just
down
open
and
his suitcase and he brings out papers and he just like reserves tables at restaurants. Then he goes.
Well, to be fair, a lot of movies do skip over like the more mundane aspects of life. I mean, like, unless it's for like comedic purposes, we don't really like see people like pissing and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, yeah. Well, even like the one scene he had the sunglasses in his office and just drawing pictures. So he's still not really doing anything there. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like they don't show the everyday detail,
right?
Of everything. But I thought that was interesting to show as much money as they all have. They never really show him work, and they never really show them talking about work like that. Besides, it just shows every time they talk about work. Really, it's like, hey, remember, you got this reserved at this time. So it goes into more of like, is this more of a facade of the just like the perfect life, like you said, like the perfect job, but even they don't really care about the job, more so just what comes from the job.
Right, exactly. And that's what I was going to get into, is that they're so wrapped up, like every single one of the people that we meet that's a part of that lifestyle it just seems like the sum of what their money can get them is a big part of their personality. So like when it comes to like, you know, doing coke at the clubs, or like getting into the fancy clubs, getting into the restaurants, to the point that when someone is able to get into a restaurant that's a higher caliber, or have a more costly professional business card, or
apartments,
or apartment, that like it kind of infuriates them, because like that's so ingrained into their persona that when someone comes in and is at a higher caliber, like it threatens. We see it at an extreme with Bateman, but I feel like this is something that's kind of going on across the group, because we even see when the business card gets pulled out of Paul, what's his last name? I can't think. Jared Leto's character.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Damn. No. I was gonna say Paul Williams. That's Willie P.
But yeah, no. When he pulls out that card, like everybody in the room shrinks back.
Dude. Yeah,
and
that scene was hilarious.
Like, no, and it was to start talking about the camera work in that movie. Like, it does such a good job of like the camera is focused on exactly what Patrick himself would be focused on. And so in that scene, it's just so fixated on every single aspect of that business card. Just the same way that he would be fuming that it's like, how could it be so much more perfect than mine?
But which is funny too, because it shows his OCD and narcissism, to the point like to common people, it kind of looks the same. Right. There's not much changes, but to him, he sees those minute details, and it just sets him off. And but sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
I think that scene is also funny because he's the one who started the bullshit. He's the one who brought the card out first. Then when he got when somebody actually upstages him, you see him mad. I'm like, you started it, you know? Yeah. So.
And like everyone else kind of pulls out their business cards, and like up to a point, he's kind of like, okay, yeah, but like mine's kind of better. And then like when Paul comes in the room, it's like he just gets dunked on. Like,
yeah. But talking about the him talking about like murders and stuff like that in the open, but people seem to mishear it, and we don't know whether it's him saying that out loud and people mishear it, or is it just him thinking those thoughts. So in some scenes, I wonder if he actually did say that. I guess he did say it out loud. But like the club scenes, like the first time we see him do that, it's at the club. But I was like, okay, it makes sense why they were mishearing or wouldn't hear my talk, because at the club it's already very loud. Yeah. So, but other scenes like when he's talking to the Chinese woman about the laundry, that also makes sense too, because it's a different language. But but the camera does a cue every time he does it. It stops. It's almost like the movie stops and hyper focuses on him talking, and it just focuses on him saying it.
Okay.
Then the camera gets him kind of closer to see his face. But then when he's done saying it, it goes back to like a wide shot. Okay. That's why it doesn't do that for all of them, but it does that for most of them.
So you think in those moments, like he's kind of, those are the moments where he's saying it in his head, but he may be saying something else. Okay. Yeah, I can see that. With the exception of going back to the dry cleaners.
Yeah.
He says like, "I will kill you," and she like reels back. Yeah. So that kind of made it more of like a mystery for me. Maybe the book would shed light on that.
Yeah,
I don't
know. Maybe. But yeah, I guess that kind of goes into his first victim, and I put quotation marks around it because we'll talk about it at the end. But so the sheets that he had, he's trying to hide it, and he says cranberry juice. So it's blood,
right?
Is it blood of that woman he was walking across the hall, like the street? Remember? Like,
oh yeah. I think 100%.
Like he seduced her, then ended up doing something.
Yeah, and that's a lot of because I've heard people speculate, like, is he really killing these people, or is it like all in his head or something like that? I would say the movie, in my opinion, gives more hints towards these things are really happening. Just certain things that happen along the way. Like having the argument at the dry cleaners over the blood, and then he's very nervous about like, oh, it's cranberry juice, and he even goes so far as to like kind of fold the sheet over so she's not like focusing on it anymore. That, and then also I see a lot of people kind of the ending.
Yeah, that ending was...
the last victim kind of I guess I can see where it would help people that kind of have that point of view that like, oh, it's all made up. But I think that final conversation that he has with the lady in the apartment, I think in my head really cements it for me that everything that we saw really happened.
Okay, you want to elaborate more now, or you think
we can get there?
Okay,
because we're talking about the first, and I'll be honest. When it comes to the victims, I think a lot of them looked the same.
Yeah, they did.
He had like a very particular type when it came to killing as well.
Women, yeah,
and so like, I don't know. Maybe that's something that was like, maybe there's like some backstory there that like we don't necessarily know. Like, maybe one particular type of looking woman, did something to him in his past. I don't know.
He seems, definitely women or people. Either I think he likes killing women for the fun. That's the fun aspect of it. But the guys, it seems like if they upstage him or if they do something to hurt his ego, then he feels like, okay, I'm gonna have to kill this person because they did something. And it goes to Jared Leto's character because he's able to reserve at some restaurant and his card was better than his. I think that triggered him to like, okay, I need to get rid of this guy.
Dorcia.
Dorcia. Yeah, Dorcia. I had to look that up too.
Yeah.
Then the card, and I think that set them off, and like, okay, I have to get rid of this guy because he's better than me. He poses a good competition to be better than me. Then I guess we'll talk about another stuff later about, I guess, whether it's real or not. But yeah, the women, because like the model, he gets and he kills. But yeah, that I think he does for fun. Also because he's a good-looking guy, he's able to get these women kind of easily. And I wonder, like you said, whether that's the women are his MO. That type of woman, the way they look, if that like that's what he goes for, or it's because of where he's at in life and how good looking he is. Those are the type of women he usually attracts, and he just like, okay, I'm out. They already come easily for me. Might as well just use this as my victims.
Got you. Okay, that's a way I didn't think about looking at it before, But yeah, no, it's definitely very, like, well, what you were gonna say something?
Oh no, I was gonna say like it's just open to interpretation.
Yeah. I would say a lot of the movie is. I would say I have definitely my views on how I think everything kind of played out, but it is definitely, I would say this is definitely a work of art that's very open to interpretation. But yeah, you said you saw like little things, like you noticed like your watches on, because I'd say, if I'm being 100% honest, I've probably only seen this movie twice.
Oh, okay.
So like, what are some of the things that like you've seen?
Yeah, so it's weird how I didn't notice this in the first viewing. So after he, I guess, fornicates with the two prostitutes and they were leaving, they had, one of them had like marks on her back. And her nose was bleeding. Yeah. I never noticed that the first time. And I was like, oh, that just adds more into the movie for me, because it's like, oh, I guess he did something to them. And even the later on, the other prostitute alludes to it, but it makes more sense watching it again. Like, oh, I didn't even notice that. So that definitely happened. Yeah, for sure. Then the salt stain I was talking about with the steak, I didn't notice that until the last viewing. And one of the girls who was having an affair with, you see her kind of depressed throughout the whole movie, and she does drugs and stuff like that. And she's kind of, after they have sex, she's like, hey, if I don't see you for Easter, she says like goodbye or something. And
have a good one.
Yeah, have a good one. And to me, it's like, oh, she's about to commit suicide. It seems like to me.
Yeah, I definitely got that vibe too. Yeah, with her. But I guess the movie never like really says anything about it.
Yeah, they drop hints with just her mood and how she's going through.
But I think them not touching on that kind of like plays to Patrick's character, because someone in his situation, if they heard that kind of talk and that was like kind of disturbing, like, hey, this person might be on the edge and might need some help in this time. He doesn't care. Yeah. And we never revisit that.
Yeah. He doesn't care. He just moves on. I thought it was funny too, because there was a scene of him and his girlfriend at the party, like a Christmas party, and she's talking to him, and he just walks off. He just, because he sees Jared Leto's character, and that's what he's fixated on. So she's talking, and he just like yeet, and just goes towards him to go start talking to him. Yeah. And to try to get him, alone, so he could do what he plans on doing.
It's very much like there's the things that he wants, and then there's like the filler. And in those moments where he's like very actively pursuing the things that he wants, like that filler just kind of goes away. But also, again, to the point, I think he's in the perfect social circle for that to be the norm, to where that doesn't alarm anybody.
I think also, like you said, how his fixated on stuff, it shows how he even got to that stage. Like, he seems like if he's fixated to get there, he'll work hard and do everything in his power to get there. Right. Even though he doesn't really care about it, but to fit the image or just to fit the status. And it's just like, okay, that's my goal. And he just beelines towards it. And it just sheds more about his character. And like you said, the circle too. The girl that they hint that might commit suicide, it shows how the circle is too, because here they are all partying and stuff, and she's going through some shit. She's depressed. You can obviously see that she's depressed, but they all just don't care. Right. And it just kind of shows like each of them, like you said in the beginning, like they all have their own battles that we're not seeing. We just happen to get a hint of her battle because Bateman happens to be involved with her.
Right. And I think that the hints might be there for other people, but they're so wrapped up in their focus that they don't even see that that's going on. And the only one that kind of gets a glimpse into that is the one person that could not care less about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes, true. That is true. I guess since we're talking about Jared Leto's character, was he the first? No, the first on screen kill we see was when he killed that homeless guy and the dog, which was very brutal.
That was a lot.
Yeah. Do you think? Because he seems like he's been battling the demons of wanting to kill somebody, and you think he got that guy, he chose that guy because like, oh, this is somebody that nobody would care about, and kind of just do it and get away with it.
I think everyone that he meets, it seems like he tries to pull something from those people, something like of something to use as a mirror or like a reference point to say like, okay, you can benefit me by you lending this characteristic, and this will now become part of my personality to make me seem more like everyone else, because you do this so well. And when he comes across this guy who's, you know, homeless, he's in need of help, and he just can't find any traits that I guess he would deem desirable to take to his social circle to kind of do a better job of mimicking everybody else. He kind of deems him as useless, and I guess that kind of sets him up to be like the perfect victim in his eyes, I guess. Is the way I interpreted it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I thought that, I know it's kind of violent, but I thought that scene was funny because he's like acting like he cares. Then he stands like, you know what, I don't care about you, you know? He just flips like, I don't care about you, and he starts insulting him and stuff like that. Which actually goes into my next point. I'll talk about it later on, actually. But yeah, so we see that killing, and then the next killing that we see is Jared Leto's character, Paul. Right?
I don't know if it's the next one, but that's definitely, it's such an interesting one.
I like the little dance he does beforehand too.
Yeah. That whole, it's so comical because he's trying so hard to be like everybody else, to the point that kind of like you were saying, that Nicolas Cage energy like when Nicolas Cage plays a character, he goes all in.
All the way in, yes.
And so I think that's what he did, and he took it too far to the point that like if he was in any other circle, people would be like, this is not a normal guy.
Like this guy's weird.
But it kind of works for the people that he surrounds himself with, and just that like overly critical of the music, like very like he has a view of how everything should be, to the point where like you cannot put a drink down without him sliding a coaster under there.
Yeah, dude. But yeah, you could keep going.
And so he's sitting there like listing off like everything that he knows about
the band. Do you remember the band's name?
I can't remember. The song is Hip to Be Square, I think is the name of the song that he kills him to, which is like weird. He has music, he kills people too. But yeah, no, and so he's like going off on a tangent about the band and the song, and then he even like he gets prepared. He's got like the kill room set up. He's got the newspaper. He's got the sheets draped over the furniture. And then
the raincoats.
Jared Leto even like he kind of makes a comment about it. He's like, "Do you have a dog or something?"
Yeah.
Like that? And he's like, "No, I don't." And then the raincoat. He's like, "Is that a raincoat?" Yes, it is.
Yeah. You know what? That kind of funny now. I didn't even think about that till now. That's fucking Batman and Joker in the same scene. I didn't even think about that.
That is, that's crazy, dude.
Yeah, and it's also funny that those two motherfuckers never age. They look the same.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah, pretty much.
Are definitely vampires.
What's their secret?
Yeah.
Well,
who knows?
If you listen to internet conspiracy theorists, Jared Leto's regimen is like baby blood.
Oh my
on
god!
His face or whatever. I mean, hey man, we hear about weird stuff all the time, bro. Like stuff like you never like, no, that's not going on, and then all of a sudden it's going on. So I mean, maybe, who knows?
We're about to lose some subscribers, some Illuminati.
Yeah, for sure. We're about to get canceled.
Yeah,
this is the episode for sure.
You'll find us, but yeah. So he kills him to the music, and I thought the blood splatter on the way, like on his face, it's so iconic. It's like an iconic look. I thought that was a really cool shot, and makeup and effects of just how the blood sprays over to like most of one side of his face and the other side. And it's me adding my own shit right now. It's like, oh, it's like the killer side and him trying to still be human like everybody else and everything. But it's me adding my own shit. I could admit that. I
kind of linked it back because like there's the moment like during his skincare routine where he's like peeling off the mask. And he's talking about, he's like, I do these things, but I'm not there. And it seems like the mask, the facade is like a common theme throughout the entire movie.
100%.
And then it's kind of ironic where like the moment he kills Jared Leto, the blood covers his face, and so he's got this blood mask, if you will. But while he's masked in the blood, that's the most authentic
that's his real
he
self.
is. So it's kind of like this irony there, if you will. That's the way I interpret it.
Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. Yeah. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and it just shows there's so many layers. I guess it goes to layer peeled off. So many layers to the movie. Yeah. And things you could take from it. Yeah, so he kills him and he goes to his apartment, I guess, to create like an alibi that he traveled. And it shows the narcissism too. Because he goes into an apartment and he gets jealous that his apartment looks better he has a better view. Right. Yeah, than he does, and he gets really jealous about that too.
Yeah, and he even says something like, I get a sense of like panic. And it has nothing to do with like the murder. It's like his apartment is more expensive than mine. Yeah. I was like, what?
Yeah. Actually, I guess we missed something right before that. He's dragging the body, and there's blood trail, and he goes through the lobby, and nobody says anything. Right. So it's like dropping hints of, or just whether it's real, whether it's not, and I find what happened after that funny, because he's putting the body in a taxi or in a car, and somebody that sees him, he says like, hey, is that you, Peggy Bateman? And he's like, no, it's not. He says like, no, it's not me, and he says the guy's name. I'm like, what the fuck? What kind of dumbass statement? You see, like being what's it called? Is he just being what's that word? God damn it. What's that? I'm blanking on words. Right now, sarcastic. Like he's just being sarcastic to the guy. But I just thought it was hilarious of him saying like, no, it's not me.
I think that's open to interpretation. He could have been sarcastic. He could have been trying to because again, these people are like, unless you are someone super important to them, like they're likely to forget that they had a dinner with you, or that they were partying with you, or what have you. Yeah, exactly. Because like he goes through the whole movie and everyone is like, talks shit about him straight to his face because they don't realize it is him.
Yeah, they mistake him for somebody else.
Yeah. And they're like, oh yeah, Bateman's such a freaking dweeb.
Yeah.
Whatever they have to say about him. But yeah, another point of that is when like he's putting the bag in the trunk, and like you see the guy, he's like, "Oh my god!" And you think like, "Oh shit, this is the moment."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Where did you get that overnight bag?"
Yeah, man. This movie's something else. Oh yeah, that was so funny. And I guess it goes to, I guess after that we get introduced. I'm kind of skipping a lot through, but we get introduced to Willem Dafoe's character.
Yes.
And how do you feel about his character?
Very, very interesting. Very, because I think he kind of plays into society's role. I think. I think he's a detective to a point, but he is just as willing as everybody else as long as the facade is kept. That's the most important thing. So to the point that like, oh, most likely he went to London.
Yeah.
Or, you know, what have you. When, like, all of the clues are there at any point. Like, because although it looks like, you know, Bateman's been doing this for a while, he's not that good. He's kind of sloppy. There are a lot of moments where, like, that would have been the moment.
Oh, yeah.
He would have got caught for, you know, some little detail. Being as sloppy as taking your sheets to the dry cleaner.
Dry cleaner or dragging the body across the lobby.
Right, yeah. And it's just the clues are there. He could have easily been caught. 2 and 2 could have easily been put together. But to maintain the facade and everything, it's easier just to say, oh, he probably went to London.
Yeah.
And even that whole like conversation that he has where Willem Dafoe's like, he's like, sometimes people just disappear. And then like that eerie comment that he makes, Bateman does, where he's like, the earth just opens up and swallows them.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, like if you're trying to be like subtle and get away with this, you're doing a terrible job.
Yeah. Bateman that guy's a character for sure.
Yeah,
man.
definitely.
That's weird. Like I didn't even think about it that way with Willem Dafoe's character of keeping up the facade, but it makes sense. Yeah, he seemed kind of like a lazy detective like he seemed like he doesn't go that extra mile, even though everything's there. And I guess it would make sense with that interpretation too. But yeah, to me, it just seemed like, well, I guess they mistake you for like you said, how they keep mistaking Bateman for somebody else. Somebody said that Bateman was at the party,
right?
He obviously wasn't there,
right?
And my girl even said that too, like how you said, like, isn't it weird that you don't know your friends enough to know when they're there or not there, you know? So.
And it just goes to show that, like, at the end of the day, like, you have these people that you run in circles with, but everyone is there. Every situation that they're in is all for their benefit. They're out with people who they know are, like, know the spots or can get into the spots to have the best time or to look the coolest because you can get into this club or get into this restaurant. But yeah, so it all plays into that. No one is there genuinely because they like these people.
Yeah.
And in that sense, like, everyone kind of becomes the same because everyone is disposable. Everyone is just a tool to get what you want. And so, like, you forget which tool. At that point, it becomes like, was I using the flathead or the Phillips head? At that point, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, so I think it's like it's very heavy on the social commentary.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And everybody within that world, and I think that Willem Dafoe's character is hip on that. Like nobody knows where anybody is at any given time. Nobody remembers who they were partying with. Nobody knows who they went to dinner with, and that would make a detective's job like so hard. Yeah, because no one can pinpoint who they were with at any given time, and like.
Just has like a fucking time mentality.
Yeah. It is like at this point, like, solving the murders doesn't really matter to anybody.
It also shows like it seemed like nobody was really, because they don't even know who each other were really. Nobody seemed hurt that Paul's disappeared for a little bit. But like nobody keeps up with each other anyway. So
Right.
it just goes back to the old point. With the case, to me, like I was never sure whether Defoe suspected Bateman for sure or not. You know, it just seemed kind of weird, and I think the movie did that on purpose. But it also goes to how you said how Bateman is kind of sloppy, because after that happens, after he gets questioned by one Defoe the first time, he goes and gets those prostitutes, and he starts telling them like he's Paul. He kept saying like, "Hey, I'm Paul," and I wonder if like, is that's him trying to create an alibi?
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I'm
too.
like, why are you trying to create an alibi after the fact? And Paul's supposed to be in London. The timeline doesn't match, you know.
Right.
And he does it so much to the point that when he brings them again, they go to Paul's apartment, and he's still saying like, you know, refer to me as Paul and all that stuff. But it's like the timeline still doesn't make sense, because if Paul's in London, he can't be doing this here. So it just, he's really sloppy or just kind of dumb.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, it's all over the place. And I think, yeah, that's what he was trying to do, is he was trying to build an alibi for, like, Paul's still alive. He's up and running. Just ask these prostitutes.
Yeah,
you know, like, you know, but yeah, it's just a whole bunch of, like, missteps along the way that if anyone cared enough, they would see it. But nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody cares. With the prostitutes, yeah, so that was a funny scene too, when he gets both of them and he's talking about the music again.
Oh yeah,
he's kind of assumed the position.
Bro, like it's so crazy. Yeah, he's like, don't just look at it, eat it.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this? Bro, during that scene, I couldn't stop thinking about the SpongeBob meme.
Oh, what?
Because there's one where like he's like having sex with the prostitute, and then like he looks over, and like the way they set up the meme, he looks over at the TV.
Yeah.
And SpongeBob is on the TV with those like inflatable
the arms.
like that.
Yeah.
And then he's like. He does it back, like
yeah.
No, it's crazy.
I just realized that too. But yeah, when he was like, it just shows his narcissism.
Yeah,
because the whole filming of the tape, he was just checking himself out the whole time.
Yeah,
and I love the parts. This is why I say he had that Nicolas Cage energy when he's like pointing at the screen.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was so like,
and the other girl's just looking at this guy like, who the fuck is this man?
Yeah,
man?
And I think if we're being real, I think like the only person who like had a grip on who this man really was probably that process.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I think she, I don't know if like through her line of work or just the, you know, like what have you, like she was able to pick up on exactly what type of person that he was, to the point where like when he comes around again, she's like, no.
Yeah.
She kind of gets coaxed back.
Because, you know, that's her job.
Right, yeah. But I mean, she kind of has the insight that like nobody else has.
But it goes to your point you said earlier, because maybe because she's not part of that circle or that world, she's so vastly different that the facade doesn't work with her. Like it just stands out. Like, oh, this guy's definitely weird.
Right.
And also because it's after the second meeting, because of what they experienced in the first meeting, because she alludes to like, she had to go to the hospital and she could sue. And it makes you think like, man, what the fuck did he do?
You see him get a wire hanger and I believe a scalpel.
Oh, okay.
Out of the drawer, and because they're like, can we go now? And he's like, we're not finished yet. And so something happens in there, and then we see the other girl take off, and we never see her again.
Yeah.
And then. But we see one of them staggering.
And
yeah, as she's leaving. So he did something.
He did some fucked up shit.
We know just based on his confession that I think he's trying to push the boundaries of like everything. he's grasping at what's gonna make him seem fulfilled. It almost seems like, and so it's like nothing ever does it for him. So he keeps trying to push the envelope of like, how far can I take this, and what's finally gonna give me that satisfaction that I'm looking for. To the point that I think he even said he ate some brains.
Yeah, some brains. I going to what you're saying too, like he almost, to me, because he seemed like he was shooting his own porno, and I think they allude to that too when he's watching porn early in the movie. It's like, it almost seems like he's inspired by the porno. It's like, oh, let me do my own version of that stuff, and to get him self-fulfilled, just has to do some fucked up shit too, or just check himself out the whole time.
Right. Yeah.
While listening to Susudia, which is man, he almost soiled Phil Collins, man.
Oh yeah.
Because think about it, this movie came out post Tarzan, so
was it post Tarzan?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Wow.
So could you imagine like hearing Phil Collins and Tarzan with that soundtrack? Like, damn, Phil Collins is the man. And then you hear him again in this scene, in this movie.
But what's interesting is like, at least with our generation, we know Phil Collins as more of like a solo artist.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he talks about him being better as a member of
Genesis?
the band. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Which because I guess like you said, we'll never know. Nobody really know about that.
I mean, I have never listened to Genesis, so I couldn't. I just know that Tarzan soundtrack slap, bro.
That slaps. That's a classic, man.
All the memes that they have, like, Phil, it's just a movie about gorillas.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that hard. And then he's like playing the piano with the fire coming out.
Dude, that guy went all the way back. He was playing for his freedom, dude. He was recording for his freedom. That's like a Dave Chappelle joke. But with the prostitute, like you said, she sees through the facade that the other people don't. And so after, because we're kind of skipping around, it doesn't really matter though. But I guess another important scene too was to show with the friends and his own narcissism. To me, like there was one scene where Willem Dafoe compliments his apartment, and the movie does a point of showing a close-up of him saying thanks. And I'm wondering if they did that to show like because he was hurt by Paul having a better apartment, so to hear that he has a good apartment, he's like, oh man, somebody actually complimented my apartment. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean that's again, it's like it's this ego thing that they have. It's like they have to have the best of the best. They have to have better than everybody. And so like when someone compliments you on something, then it's like, oh dang, there's that rush of dopamine because I got what I wanted. I got some affirmation from somebody that like, yeah, I have nice things. I have a good life. The facade is upheld. Yeah. It's like it's so ingrained. I'm sorry?
No, like notice me, senpai. that whole thing. Yeah,
exactly. Like someone notices that, like, it's just so ingrained in who they are, really.
I bring it up to talk about when he was at lunch with his friends, and that one guy brings his card and shows him, and it's the best looking one because it's gold and shit. And you can he just snaps like, oh, this motherfucker. And I like what that guy. I guess they were hinting at something else, which we later reveal, like he's a closeted homosexual. But when that guy left, at first I interpret, because he looked at Bateman as he was leaving, and at first I interpreted that as like, fuck with me, after showing the card, you're like, you can't talk shit, I got the best card. But I guess it was more so a look because he was attracted to Bateman. And he tries to go kill him in the bathroom, and he goes to sloppiness. He freaks out. He doesn't know what to do. And do you have any interpretation of why he freaked out, or any?
I think it's all about the whole movie is a decline. It seems like in his ability to control his tendencies.
Yes, yeah.
And so like we see at first like he's kind of got a handle on things, although they were sloppier. The first couple of kills were a little more calculated. Towards the end, he's just gotten so sloppy that like he's having to cover so many bases. But again, it helps that he's kind of in this society where the facade is so important, so much so that people are willing to ignore the obvious signs or even aid him in cleaning things up to uphold that facade.
So with that guy, you think he just didn't the victim, like the guy was about to kill, you think that guy, well, he thought he was attracted to him, that's why he's like trying to mess with him in the bathroom, but you think Bateman at that point is just, he was more emotional, but he couldn't do it because he was emotional, or they've been too sloppy at that moment?
I think he kind of like got his bearings a little bit. Just he realized how dumb and sloppy that kill would have been. I mean, because like the first time I saw it, I was like, "You're really gonna be this sloppy? Like, you're really gonna kill him in the bathroom? Everybody saw you go in there. Everybody knows like is gonna know exactly who it is." And then we see he can't go through with it. He realizes, okay, this would be dumb. And to the point that like all of the signs would be there. This guy's probably trying to kill me. But this the other guy again they're so focused on the things that they want that like it would be so easy to put two and two together and figure out what's really going on, but they're so focused on what they want that just goes out the window.
Like the motherfucker has the OJ gloves on. It's like he still just ignores it. But that was a very interesting scene to me. It just shows like his psyche and how he's more emotional towards like later, and it just shows like the narcissism, and if he hurts his ego, he will try to get rid of you in any small detail. But also I find it interesting the way he just freaks out, like he didn't know what to do, to the point he comes out like a bubbling idiot, like he bumps into the waitress, and he just like freaking out, and I think they asked him what he's about to go do, and it's like, I have to return some tapes. That's always his like, that's like his alibi, his excuse to leave.
I have to return some tapes.
And I like how the movie goes on.
Hey man, those blockbuster late fees are no joke, man.
Especially back then. Two reasons I like that's because it's like a recurring thing. I like it because it's recurring, and as the movie goes on, the more intense he gets about it, because they ask him like, where are you going? Like, he's like, at first he was calm about it in the beginning of the movie. By the end of the movie, he's like, I have to return those tapes, you know. And I don't know if you ever played this game called No More Heroes.
No, I haven't.
It's like a hack and slash game that makes the motherfucker has a lightsaber because he orders it from eBay or something like that. It's a wacky game, but throughout the whole game, you could go rent pornos.
Okay.
And a recurring thing throughout the whole game is like you keep getting phone calls from where you rented it, like, hey, could you return our tapes? And they name it like throughout the whole game. So till the end, and each title they say in the game, it gets more and more ridiculous, like the type of porn he's renting. But it's just funny, like, because you get the option. It's almost like slightly like sandbox GTA. So whenever you go back to your apartment to change, you can listen to the voicemail. And throughout the whole game, it's just like, hey, please bring back our tapes. It just kind of remind me of that stuff.
Yeah. What was I getting at? Okay, so because we're kind of getting to like towards the end of the movie.
Yeah. So
the interesting thing and another part that I would say, like, okay, maybe if we looked at it a certain way and we were like very critical, maybe this is a point that I can see people's point of like none of this is actually happening, just the entire thing with like the because obviously the ATM is not going to tell him to feed it a stray cat.
Yes.
So we have that, like, he's like at first tries to put the cat in, and then the old lady comes up and he just like
decks it. Before we go, actually, sorry to cut you. Like I'll let you go back to that point because it goes back to slappiness and him not killing somebody. The girl, the one that works at his job that has a date with, and actually background references. He didn't kill her too.
Right.
Do you have any interpretation or any you have any reason you think?
I think if I had to give a reason that I think again it kind of goes back to like what happened in the bathroom. He realized how sloppy that would be if you're because I've heard like certain like different like killer stuff, like serial killer stuff references. It's like the moment that you get caught is when you kill somebody that you have a connection to. And so that I mean, like, obviously, like, that's his assistant. Who are they going to go to first when she goes missing? It's him. That's your assistant. That's who you spend the majority of your time with. And I think, like, it all kind of, like, he gets the phone call from his girl. Yeah. And then it's just like, hey, so then, like, he's able to play it off as this, like, thing of, like, oh, I got caught slipping with my girl, but it's more in my opinion it's more of like a sobering up of like, oh snap, like I was about to kill this girl who's like very much tied to me, and if she goes missing, like that could be it.
I didn't even think about it that way. That makes sense. I'll explain, because I think my interpretation of killings I'll talk about it in the end, because it goes into a larger thing with me. Then I just want to touch on these 2 points before I go to the end, because I think it plays an important factor. The second meetup with the prostitute and that other woman, and how that ends, and how she tries to run away and she's banging on the door, nobody would answer her, and she ends up getting killed with the chainsaw. I just wanted to touch on those 2 points because I think they play a factor towards my point and the ending of like whether it's real or not. But yeah, then it goes to that whole weird GTA section that you were talking about, the ATM, like the feed me the cat. But yeah, you could elaborate on more.
Okay. Like yeah. So because the ATM happens after he kills
the prostitute.
Right. Okay. So yeah. So we have that whole scene with the prostitute. He starts killing that one girl, and then she gets away. And then so she's running down, and then he kills her with a chainsaw. Then we have that whole business at the ATM. He pops the lady. Then he starts running because like the cops are after him. He like ends up blowing up the cop car.
Yeah, the cop car. Yeah.
So like there's no witnesses at that point. And then so like he's running away through the building and like shoots that first guard. Yeah. And then he's like goes through the revolving door right as that guy's coming out, and then like spins around with it again, like yeah. Like that whole part was just like so comical, bro.
Yeah.
Like that.
It was a whole like, dude, that should remind me of GTA when you get that 1 star and it just keeps rising. To the point he got 5-star at the end once he got the helicopter involved.
Yeah. That was crazy. Yeah, and then like he revisits the building the next day, and like there's no crime scene, there's no nothing. There's just stuff that like they were the make ready was already like in there like doing work and stuff like that. You could tell because they've got like the paint buckets and everything, and a lot of people are like, well, that's the obvious sign. None of this really happened. But he has a conversation with the lady who's renting out the apartment. Yeah, yeah. And he's like kind of at a loss for explaining why he's there.
Mm-hmm.
And then she basically, like, I don't remember what exactly her wording was, but she tells him, like, don't make a scene. I think it's better if you just go.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, like, to kind of cement the fact that even for her, it's more important because then, like, the way I interpret it is if it's confirmed there were murders that happened in this apartment,
Yeah,
then good luck ever selling that apartment again.
Mm-hmm.
Or like at the price that it continues to be sold at, because now it's the murder apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And so for her, it is more important that the price stay fixated. Nothing, like, it looks like nothing happened here, to the point that, like, they just clean it all up and make everything go away. And she's like, I just think it's better if you just go.
I didn't even think about that, dude. Like, that actually plays a big factor into my points, which I saw I'll elaborate on because it's a big thing about the movie. But that I didn't think about that until you just explained now, like her keeping a facade because of their apartments and people need to rent out. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because rich people go over there, and if somebody's killed, like you just explained, if somebody's killed there, then nobody wants to go there. That I didn't even think about that while watching it at first. Now that actually throws a wrench into my theory.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I it's good that you said that because it opens, like interpretation I never thought about. But I guess prior to that too, another thing that actually happened was after when he's doing that whole GTA cop chase thing, he talks to his lawyer and he admits to all this stuff, and
on the voicemail because it doesn't get through to him.
And that's something they acknowledge at the end too. And but he keeps getting lucky. The lawyer thought that wasn't Bateman. He thought that was somebody else that he was talking to in front of him. Then when Patrick explains, no, like, it's me, I did those things. Then there's another mistaken identity of, like, I had lunch with Paul in London. And it's like, damn, like, what the fuck is going on,
So to me, well, one other thing that we skipped over, which is, I think, super important, is we never really see it come into play, but because right before his assistant leaves his apartment, they have a conversation where she's saying, like, well, do you want me to go?
Yeah.
And then he kind of has that moment where he's like, I think that if you don't leave, I'm going to hurt you and you don't want to get hurt, do you? And she's like, no, I guess I don't. And so the whole time it seems like she's processing as it, like, emotionally hurt.
Yeah.
But then we see her going through his notebook and all of the drawings of, like, everything, and it's like this mix of, like, murder and sex and, like, just all of the, like,
his inner psyche.
His inner psyche. Just basically spewed over all of these pages, and we get to see really, like, the chaos that is inside of his mind. These, like, forces that are like at odds with each other. And I think the way I interpret it is that she saw how close she was to becoming another victim, and it was, like, overwhelming.
Oh yeah, that makes sense too. That was a very shocking scene of just her going through the book and just the shot they had of her just reaction. That was a cool scene.
I will say though, if we're going with the theory that it's not real, we could also look at that as, like, when these things are happening in his mind, like, that's him drawing it out. Yeah,
he seems to draw a lot of it out because maybe he was drawing on the table when he was talking to his breaking up with his girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "I have to return some tapes."
Yeah.
But then I guess it kind of just ends with him. Nothing happens to him because of mistaken identity, people trying to keep up the facade, luck, or less maybe once he goes back to the office, maybe that shit might get real. Who knows? But he seems to have gotten away with it, and he almost seems like he wanted to be punished.
Yeah, I think,
but he wasn't.
I think he did, because like I think he's chasing after this like high that never comes. It almost seems like, and like the ultimate rush is like being on the verge of being caught, and then like not. And he has to, like, I think when he's confessing and he's saying out loud everything that he's done to his lawyer, like it all kind of hits. Like, this is the gravity of everything that I've done. And then he goes to talk to his lawyer. And in my mind, when the lawyer says, like, I had...
like
lunch, yeah, with Paul in London like twice or something like that, or was it like 2 days ago or something like that? In my mind, the lawyer was helping create an alibi, and he did not really have lunch with Paul.
Was it like just to say like, hey, shut the fuck up, you know?
Yeah, basically like, shut up, get out of my face, like, I am trying to help you. You need to shut your mouth. And then he goes back and sits down with his friend, and he's like, I didn't get caught. I think I wanted to get caught. And so I put it out there, and it just goes to show, like, to my point, like, at the very end, the facade was more important than anything to everybody else. And so when he finally just comes out and says everything that he's done, it means absolutely nothing.
Yeah. And yeah, that fucks with him a lot. I guess my theory was, and now this review actually kind of throws a wrench what you said with the lady with the apartments and some things, but I view this movie as a guy who's about to be a killer, a serial killer. And I view it as him battling, like Dexter, you know, battling the stuff inside that he wants to come out so much, but he doesn't know how to do that yet. But he will get there soon. He's just in that process of getting there. And the reason for that is because, yeah, like he's saying all these things like he wants to say, but we never know whether he's really saying it or if he's just thinking it. That's like the first step. Then you also see, like, in one scene they made a point of him taking a pill right before he kills Paul. Like, okay, maybe he's taking pills to, like, suppress all this stuff in, and who knows, maybe just have like a psyche like a break. And I interpreted like him not killing the guy in the bathroom and him not killing that girl as him not knowing how to kill yet. Yeah, so in the bathroom, he's like, oh, I'm about to kill this guy, and he has his arm around him. He's like, you know, about to choke him, but it's like, oh, wait, I don't know how the fuck to actually kill somebody, you know? And he's freaking out like, oh, I almost killed that guy, but I didn't know what to do. Then same with the girl, where he's about to kill her, and yeah, he gets the call, and he's about to press it, but he's like, I don't know what I could go through with this, and he's sitting there in defeat, like, maybe realizing like, damn, I can't do this, and you have to leave because he's trying to contain all of it, and like, oh, you have to leave before I hurt you, but because that's what he wants to do. Now, he definitely did hurt those two prostitutes, because they leave, and the girl even alludes to it later on, like, I don't want to do this, but then again, I don't know. Yeah, it's just, it's hard. Then the ending, where he does that whole GTA, you know, cop chase thing, and he shoots all these people, and it's just nobody, it's not on the news, nobody says anything about it, and even when he shoots the cop car and it explodes, he's even looking at the gun. It's like, damn, I just made that shit explode, you know?
Yeah.
And so, and it's like a big chase that happens that nobody talks about the next day. And I'm just thinking of him, it's like, that's the episode he's having to, like, just break down. Then when he finally breaks down to his assistant, he takes those pills and he chucks a bunch of them. And yeah, and Yeah, and yeah, even though like him confessing the confession he has, I think he's just confessing to stuff he's fantasized about, and like it goes to what you said, the book. But because he's having a break, he doesn't know what's real and what's not anymore. So, and yeah, and it even shows too, like when that prostitute, when she was running away, she kept banging on doors and nobody would even answer. And this girl is screaming, you know, but nobody answers. And like, that's weird. Like, how come nobody's... They could definitely hear that stuff, and nobody's answering. And when he's dragging the body across the lobby, and there's blood on the ground, like nobody brings that back up again. Like, hey, you know, there's blood. There's a trail of blood and stuff. So, that's why I kind of think he hasn't killed anybody yet. But maybe in like if they ever made they did make an American Psycho too, but we won't talk about that. But it's like if it as the story goes on with Patrick Bateman, he's eventually going to start killing people. That's how I interpret it.
Does the second one follow Bateman?
No. Dude, no. Second one has Mila Kunis.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a bad movie.
Oh, dang.
But your theory with the woman at the apartments makes a lot of sense of why she would clean it up, because she, like you said, trying to keep all that facade too. It's like, damn, that makes a lot of sense of this stuff. So, you know, it's one of those movies you keep your watching and you get your own interpretation. And I can never say like if somebody comes up with something like how you have, I'm not going to say it's wrong. It's just how you view it, and it's how I view it. But it's not. We can't say each other's points are wrong. And I really like the movie for that too, because it just makes it rewatchable. And it's like I watched with my girlfriend just to see what she thinks happened. You know, her point of view, and she even pointed out some stuff that I never noticed, like the prostitutes getting beaten. Like I never noticed that the first couple of times I watched it. You know, until she said something. I was like, oh man, that changes a lot of things now.
Yeah. Oh man. Just like just remembering like small little moments from the film. That's like when he has like Gene over and he like goes and reaches for the sorbet and there's like the head in there. He's just like, Gene, sorbet. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man.
Yeah. And he just has the head there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he goes to your point too. Like he's if he's really killing people, he's really sloppy.
Yeah.
Because all it takes is somebody to open the fridge and to see a head there.
Right. Yeah. So, I see your point too. Like I definitely see how it could be, just kind of like up until now it's all been a visualization, and maybe that kind of plays into like when he's like talking to that girl at the club and he says like he's into murders and executions. Maybe that's not what he said. Maybe he, you know, said murders and accusations. Yeah. But then like we're only seeing what's in his head, not necessarily like what is actually happening. And then to go back to like the theory of like you know, the drawings are his, like what makes I guess him making it real for himself is like when he draws it out, and then like he has that psychotic break, because like to your point, like one that girl is like knocking on all those doors, causing such a ruckus, and
there's a chainsaw. He's running with a chainsaw. You can hear that, you know. Naked, yeah. And after he kills her, he even yells like a victory yell, you know. Yeah. So,
and then like it's so funny though, because he's naked, but he's still got like the tennis shoes.
Yeah,
on.
Shoes on.
Like, bro, I had to like get the J's on.
Nikes on my feet keep my cipher complete. Oh my god. Do you have anything else you want to touch in the movie? I still feel like there's a lot more to talk, but not specifically what happened in the movie, just about the movie. Right,
yeah. I mean, we could probably go on and on about like little details here and there, but like overall, I just think it was like a very intelligent movie. Again, like it kind of lets you interpret it. Yeah. It doesn't give you like solidified things. It kind of like lets you draw your own conclusions. Very much social commentary about you know, I've never been a part of like the upper class,
The yuppies,
but
yeah.
this is exactly like how I would imagine it being. Obviously, this is a
Like an exaggerated version.
right, exactly, very much an exaggerated version. But I would imagine to some degree maybe this is how the upper class goes. It's a lot of like keeping up a facade, and then just everybody being fake all the time. And I think it plays on that very well. It also touches on like like part of that facade is making sure that you're in tip top shape and stuff like that, because it seems like any information that anybody has on you as far as like like whatever you're doing gets gossiped about, and he even like when he's talking to Defoe on the phone, he's like, I hope that wasn't important, and he's like, oh no, just talking about the importance of like a striped suit and like gossip and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'm just like, he's such like almost like a cartoon version.
He is, yeah.
Of just a character. He's like such a character. And it's just very, very interesting the way that they chose to like play everything up. Like I said, a lot of like the camera, the shots to focus on exactly what Bateman would be focusing on. The writing is great. The characters are written in such a way that like they're all kind of playing the same game Bateman is, just not on his level. Because he's like he's got some other stuff going on. Or maybe it's a commentary about like none of this is going on and it's all going on in his head, and it's just like about like this is how close every single one of them is to like something like this. I don't know.
Yeah, that like you were saying about the movie, how like the characters are written well, his acting is good, the pacing is good too. It flows very well. Like you're never bored throughout the whole movie. At least I wasn't. I was just like I'm interested to see where this goes, And it wasn't, how we complain about what's it called, The Lighthouse not being really satisfying. This, to me, even though it still is open to interpretation, it's still more satisfying, and I think more watchable than The Lighthouse, at least to me. And yeah, with the whole Nicolas Cage thing, half of it, like I definitely saw, and another half, I think I read somewhere. I definitely read somewhere how he was inspired by Nicolas Cage from what's it called, Vampire's Kiss, or Kiss from a Vampire. And it's Nicolas Cage also playing a yuppie, but just over the top. It's the one scene where the infamous points comes from. That's it's from that movie, the Nicolas Cage movie. But you guys gotta give my boy some respect, man. Even the great Christian Bale, looks up to the Cage. I'm just fucking around.
No, I got you. I mean,
but to touch on how you were saying Bateman is a cartoon. It goes into 2 points of my like. So is he really a psychopath or a sociopath?
That was hard for me to pin down. Because it seems like I'd have to look up the definitions.
Yeah.
But he's very like void. He's not void of emotions.
Yeah.
Because he does have things that spark certain emotions in him, but it just seems like the average, the day-to-day, like the things that would be fulfilling to the average person just doesn't do it for him.
Yeah.
And so he feels this need to like kind of chase this high that he is never fully satisfied. Again, like I said, if we're gonna take everything literally that we see, then we hear about him going further and further with the types of things that he's doing with his victims to try to reach a new level of a high, to see if maybe this is what will satisfy me. And then he just never really gets there.
I was chasing that dragon. Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know the definition. If somebody does, they could put in the comments of maybe their interpretation of whether it's a sociopath or a psychopath. Put it in the comments. But yeah, I couldn't really pinpoint which one he was. Like you said, he has emotions. He gets mad in the
Mm-hmm.
movie. We see him get mad. We even see him get worried too. Yeah, in the movie. I just don't know so much about the definition of each one to pinpoints. So I would like to know from somebody who at least knows more about that type of world, or they get like a better grasp of it where they could give an answer. And the second point I was talking about, like how you saying is it kind of a cartoon to me, because this actually goes to what. Remember I said I want, maybe your girl could watch it too, and you're like, it's a horror movie, or she's not into like horror movies. And my girl too, when she was reading the what's the summary about the movie, she's like, she wasn't excited to watch it because she thought it was going to be a horror movie. From the first time I watched this movie, I think of it as like a dark comedy. There's so many things that make me laugh at this movie.
Yeah,
that I view as a dark comedy. Do you see as a horror?
I can see that.
I don't. Dark comedy.
I think it's more of like a. I would put it in more of like a thriller,
Mm-hmm.
probably with like dark comedy elements.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a horror. We do get to some really like deep and darker tones
Mm-hmm.
towards the end of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
as it all kind of like comes to a conclusion.
Yeah.
But I think it keeps certain things very light and very like we've said before, like cartoony.
Mm-hmm,
Just
yeah.
the way that he is, the way that he acts about like just everything that he's
yeah.
doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it also like within that, it's able to have like these undertones and like kind of bring up these thoughts in your head, like how much of a facade does like the average person keep up, and like how important is that to our society, that like even if things are going kind of like sideways, like it's important to kind of just like, oh, everything's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, like no, there's nothing going on.
Mm-hmm. But
I
yeah.
forgot what I was going.
Yeah, it's okay, man. But yeah, it just in the whole movie, there's just so many things that made me laugh, and it's just like I don't know if it was meant for me to be laughing, or it's just maybe I'm just crazy too. Who knows? I know I'm not normal, but but like the whenever he's talking about killing people and like when the girl said like, oh yeah, mergers and acquisitions.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that show was hilarious. I like when he keeps talking about returning tapes. I thought that was funny. Or when he just totally ignores his girlfriend to go talk to Paul, Jared Leto's character. I thought that was funny too. Mm-hmm. There's one thing I don't know if it's meant to be funny, but because I'm black. But when he's talking to Willem Dafoe, and Willem Dafoe's talking about the song he's listening to, the tape, and he asks Bateman, "Do you like it?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't like these people. They sound too black for me."
Oh,
I thought that
yeah.
shit was fucking funny.
Yeah, because at that point he's trying to throw him off.
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
talking about exactly the CD that he was playing, and yeah, he's trying to throw him off, and then so yeah, he's like, "Oh, you don't listen to music a lot?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I just don't like them. They sound too
black." I just thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that people most likely say back then. I didn't even think of him as a racist or anything. I just thought, that's just a dumb fucking statement.
No, and that's another thing too. Is like I think that he, yeah, like to your point, I don't think he's a racist, but at the same time, I don't think he really knows
race,
who he is.
Yeah, oh yeah, he doesn't. He really doesn't. So.
He like it just seems like he's lost. He has like no definition, and so like I was saying before, like it seems like he's reaching out for reference points of like, oh, this is something that I like from this person, so I'll pull this. But like when it comes down to it, it seems like he just really has no idea who he is.
Like deep
and
down,
he's trying to build enough of a mask, but again, like it seems like the only times that he feels like he's really 100% him and like is when he's doing
the murders.
Yeah,
the mergers and acquisitions. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man. Like, yeah, he's just floundering And I think you think maybe at the end, like maybe that's what kind of led to his psychotic break, because at the end I guess my interpretation, like he doesn't know who he is, but he seems like he's leaning towards being like a psychopath, more a killer, and maybe because he wants to keep this facade on, he can't go all the way in there yet, but he's starting to feel more like that, because I guess maybe in my interpretation, like his fantasies are taking over, so he wants to be punished, so at least he could say, I'm a killer. I'm this. And this is what, at least I'm this. And I could you could point to that, like, okay, I'm Patrick Bateman. I'm a killer. But even with them saying like, oh, like he didn't get the punishment, it's like even he can't latch onto that. So he's still just lost in this whole facade and this whole game that he's playing. So,
I didn't even think about it like that. Yeah. So like that, if he got caught and he was labeled a killer, that would cement it for him.
Yeah.
He's like, that's who I am. That's what I am. I'm a killer. And because he doesn't get the satisfaction of even like getting that label, he's just like, who am I?
Man. But the movie is just it's really good. If you want to give it a rating, you could.
I will give it 8.5 axes to the face.
Oh yeah. Man.
I just think it's like, it's really smart.
Oh yeah,
it's a smart film.
You have any
it's
flaws?
Fun. Like things I didn't like.
Yeah. To take it away from that, because it's 8.5 out of 10. Like what makes it not perfect?
It honestly, and if I'm gonna be like completely fair about the rating, I think it would just, if I was an adult to watch it at the time that it came out, I think I would have given it a higher rating.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think that maybe the people that watched it when it came out, like a lot of the things that were going on were more.
It was more prevalent, or
yeah, a lot of like the references and stuff like that. So like when not that they ever like really like, I didn't see a lot of gay bashing, but they did bring it up in like sort of like a negative tone within their friend group and stuff like that.
They bring it more in the book, like except I read in the book. Yeah, they bring it up. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and so like that I mean, like we've kind of, not that we're like all the way away from that, but I think we've come a little farther. Since maybe this movie came out. And
even sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, even it's not like really, because it's it's a source material. Like even like you said, the movie's not bashing it, and I can't, even the small that they do, I can't really blame it on the movie, because it takes place in the 80s where that's common. And that's how people just talk in the 80s before they became smarter and just more accepting. So I can't really blame the movie or even the book. I just more so blame the time that it took place in, and that's just what they're doing.
So it was more of like them trying to be accurate to the time than them trying to like write in. And I guess I kind of understood that too when I was watching it. It's just kind of like unfortunate that was the mindset. At that time. You know what I mean? It's
shocking whenever you hear it now. Like stuff like that.
It's crazy. Yeah, like a lot of movies, like they kind of don't age well, because like you think of it in your head like, oh yeah, I remember this movie being super funny, and like you go back and like watch it and you're like, man, that's really where we were at that time.
At the time. It sucks because for me, I noticed that too with movies. Like I can't blame them, I just blame the time. Like, oh, that's where we're just at. But you said that because you feel like it's kind of out of touch now, that's why you can't give it like a higher rating.
I'm trying to think, because like,
even if you can't find flaws, that's okay too.
I don't necessarily like, I can't think of any flaws, not to say that it didn't have any. Like I can't think of anything that I would say like knocked it down. I would just say like it's not my like. For me personally, I think 8.5 is like really high because like there are very few movies that I would say like I would give a perfect 10 to.
Yeah.
But like this one is definitely one of the better movies that I've seen in a long time. You know, when I first watched it, I don't think I really appreciated it as much. But then, like with this viewing of it, like man, this movie is crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a really good one. I may push it to a 9. Yeah, I'll push it to a 9. A 9. Yeah, I'll say a 9.
Mine is 100% like a 9. Tapes I have to return. Yeah, dude, I love this movie. Like you, I can't give it a 10. I just don't know why. But I can't really think of any flaws I could pinpoint right now. But I just can't. You know, I just can't go. I'll give it a 9.5. Yeah, but because it's so close, I just can't give it a 10. I even myself, I don't know why I can't give it a 10. Maybe because Nicolas Cage isn't in it, but yeah. If he was in it, that would be an 11.
Okay, so only the movies with Nicolas Cage are going to get a 10. Yeah. I see how it is.
But yeah, like the writing is good, the pacing is good. Just the fact that it's so rewatchable. I've seen this movie like 4 or 5 times. That it's good, and I like seeing it with other people just to see what they get from it. Like my sister, and she's a super Christian, and I'm even surprised she chose to watch it. But because she found the movie so interesting, because she's not into that type of shit at all, and she watched it because it was just so interesting. She had to see how it ended and stuff. And even like my girlfriend, like she's not into this type of stuff, but she just thought it was very interesting and the layers and things like that. So it's a really good movie. I think Christian Bale acted his ass off. Like I'm surprised he didn't get nominated for this movie. You know, the way he was acting, and everybody else too. Everybody did their job. And like you said, the movie does social commentary, but it doesn't break the movie. It doesn't stop the movie. Like, hey, look at us, we're making fun of this group. No, it just fits in with the characters, and they're just the way they talk, the way they act. Like another thing to add to the whole comedy thing, like throughout the whole movie, they kept naming these restaurants and these foods. I'm like, God damn, dude! Like it's almost like they speak another language. The way they talk, and
well, like I said, that's like their currency. That's their status.
Yeah,
and like even with Jared Leto, like when he gets so infuriated because like he even asks his assistant where she wants to go. And like the one place that I know he's hoping the entire time that she doesn't say is Dorsia.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I can get you in anywhere. And that's so important to all of them within that group. And the one place that she says is the one place he can't get into. And you just kind of see him like his demeanor changes. You see how hard he's pushing the buttons. When he's calling Dorsia. Like
I have dismissed how it was too because he called some fake place. Oh no, he called them, but he didn't reserve because they he was kind of annoyed, and I guess because he knows he can't. Because when he drops the phone, she's like, "Hey, you didn't reserve." It's like, "Oh, they know who I am." You know, to keep the whole facade thing going. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, like the one place he did actually want to go is the place he didn't. You know, he can't go to. Oh man, but yeah, it was. It's a really good movie. Like I said, to me, it's hilarious. I think this shit's so funny, and I love the scene when the ATM says like feed the cat, and he legit grabs the cat trying to push it in there, and he's like took out the gun like he's trying to like force the cat in like, hey man, if you don't go to the ATM, I'll blast her ass. And like you said, when he's just going around shooting people, and when he sees the janitor come out and he does the ring around the rosy to like, all right.
That was like so. Oh my god! Like that was one of my favorite parts. Yeah, because like he kills the dude at the desk, and then like he's about to walk off, and then the janitor comes and is like, oh, and it's like. I was like, bro,
it turned to a Looney Tunes cartoon, man.
Really? Oh. Like a very violent serial killer cartoon almost. Yeah, like.
My thing is like because Christian Bale's a great actor. He's gone on to do other, magnificent things. I think people maybe our age, maybe, or who not really into film or younger, or the more mainstream crowd. Look at me, I'm talking more mainstream, but like they know him more for like Batman and all that stuff. I wish more people would know about this movie because I feel like he acted his ass off in this movie. And I'll admit, this is my favorite Christian Bale movie. And I just wish more people would know about it because like it's a fantastic movie. Like if you already think he's a good actor, if you see this, like, yeah, this guy really, he was acting from the get-go, even though I know he did like some movie when he was younger with Steven Spielberg. But my girl, oh, she doesn't get mad when she hears that. But yeah, my girl also talks about how in the movie, and I was wondering too, is Christian Bale, if he's just like that, like he's so serious in this movie. Like the only time he really smiles and stuff is when he's like faking it. But he seems like he doesn't even know how to take a joke in this whole movie. And it just makes me think, like, has Christian Bale really been in a more comedy type movie? Have you ever seen him in a comedic movie before?
I'm trying to think, and I can't think of any. Like, I mean, like, Batman had its funny lines, but I can't think of like a comedic movie that he would have been in.
Yeah. I feel like this is the closest to comedy we've gotten from Christian Bale, honestly. But any last things you want to talk about the movie?
Not necessarily. Overall, I think it's a good watch. If for some reason you watch this podcast without seeing the movie, I would definitely do yourself a favor and definitely watch it because it's a really good one, I think.
And if you watch this podcast without liking and subscribing, we're about to do some merger and acquisitions. Mom and sister, please like and subscribe. But I don't know what else to say after that.
I guess that's all we got for this episode. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.
Gotta return those tapes.